Here this morning to guide us, take us on a butter margarine odyssey this morning.
I give up already.
Also this morning, if you have arthritis, then you know how painful it can be and how expensive it is to treat. In our next half hour, Dr. Bob Arnott shows us why you could be paying too much.
And a little bit later on this morning, Annette Funicello's battle against another disabling disease, multiple sclerosis. Before we take a break to talk to Mark this morning, I couldn't let the moment go by without talking about this.
What?
Where did that come from? Wasn't in our little fashion segment last week for hip look this fall?
It was one of those things. I woke up this morning and said, I have to go back to my roots. I have to be who I am. It's been 5 years on this broadcast, never wore a bow tie. I wore bow ties for 10 years before I ever did this show.
So you feeling really grounded now?
I am kind of grounded, centered. Get that child within me, all of that. Get out of here.
Mark,
good morning.
Save us.
Welcome back, Paula. Good morning,
you.
Harry. Margarine out the window, bow ties back in.
Now you're
We'd like to hear that. Official Indian summer in the Northeast. You say, what's official about it? Well, when you've had frost on your pumpkins, and then it gets a little above normal again, that's Indian summer. You're going to see, there you go. Explain that for you. Temperatures in the 70s across the Northeast, a great day for golf. Going to be more like a November day in the Midwest, dark, dreary, dank, all the D words. We'll talk about that. Not too bad out west, going to be warm. All that coming up. Harry?
I just want to stop a second and tell me, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you saying that, because there's weathermen abuse that term all through the fall.
Summer?
Instead of the frost first. And
of course, they haven't had a Cleveland Indian summer since 1948, but that's a whole other story.
It is time now for this morning's news. In one of his sharpest personal attacks of the campaign, President Bush is trying to raise doubts about Bill Clinton's patriotism. Randall Pinkston has more.
On a nationwide televised call-in show, President Bush unleashed a new round of allegations about Democrat Bill Clinton's anti-war activities in the late 60s, while Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar in England.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned, Larry, but to go to a foreign country and demonstrate against your own country when your sons and daughters are dying halfway around the world, I'm sorry, I just don't like it. I think it is wrong.
Earlier on the Donahue Show, Clinton defended his opposition to the Vietnam War.
You drew a conclusion that I had somehow tried to have it both ways on the Vietnam War. That's a load of bull.
After several days of published reports, Mr. Bush offered vague innuendos about a visit Clinton made to Moscow during his student days. He was there 5 days on a 40-day visit to 6 foreign countries, but Clinton claims not to remember who he met while there.
To go to Moscow 1 year after Russia crushed Czechoslovakia, not remember who you saw, I really think the answer is level with the American people. I've made a mistake. I've said I made mistakes.
One of the reasons the president continues to campaign in his adopted home state is because Democrat Bill Clinton is doing much better than anyone expected. And Mr. Bush has to try to find something, even the draft or visit to communist Moscow in the late 60s, to try to pull Clinton down by Election Day. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, San Antonio.
Mr. Bush, Clinton, and Ross Perot are all cramming for Sunday's presidential debate. Mr. Bush plans a mock face-off with advisors on the eve of the debate. Clinton is keeping a low public profile to give his voice a rest in study briefing papers. Perot plans no public appearances before the debate. Perot will, however, be stepping up his advertising campaign. 3 30-second Perot spots began airing today on cable television. Perot does not personally appear in the ads, which are said to paint a bleak picture of the economy. One more political item. Everybody knows Bill Clinton is ahead in the polls, but President Bush can take heart from one survey with a remarkable track record. The Weekly Reader poll of more than 600,000 school children gives Mr. Bush a solid 56 to 39% edge over Clinton. This poll has not been wrong about the winner of a presidential election in 36 years. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to talk with the editor-in-chief of Weekly Reader. In West Virginia, an Air Force C-130 transport plane crashed into a house, killing all 6 crew members on board. The owner of the home was inside, but somehow managed to escape.
I heard this little noise, sound like a trucker going by, and directly a boom, and that was it, the fire. I ran.
The plane belonged to the Virginia Air National Guard and was on a training mission. It was the 3rd C-130 crash this year. The Air Force is investigating. Congress has passed legislation that will force drug companies to help pay for the cost of approving new products. Under the bill, pharmaceutical companies will pay fees to the FDA to speed the approval process. The FDA says the bill could cut in half the time it takes to introduce new drugs. A new use for the French abortion pill, RU-486, may reopen debate on allowing the drug into the United States. A study in the New England Journal of Medicine shows that RU-486 is also a highly effective morning-after contraceptive with minimal side effects. Anti-abortion groups strongly oppose marketing the drug in this country. They say it would allow abortion to be used as a routine method of birth control. On the financial markets this morning, the dollar is higher. In Tokyo, the Nikkei index gained more than 1% overnight. Wall Street begins the day with the Dow Jones Industrial Average at 3152. The Dow lost nearly 26 points yesterday. Finally, home runs were the order of the day in baseball's league championship series. In the American League, what a game. Oakland's Harold Baines broke a 3-3 tie in the top of the ninth with a homer off Jack Morris. In fact, all of Oakland's runs scored on homers, but Baines' hit was the difference as Oakland opened the series with a 4-3 victory.
It was a tremendous feeling. You know, they had just tied the ball game up on the other side, and I was lucky enough to hit the ball out of the ballpark for us to go ahead in the ninth. It means a lot. I mean, whenever you get on top, it puts some more pressure on the other team. So now we're up 1, and they have to catch us.
What a great game last night. Dave Stewart, Jack Morris. The American League playoff continues tonight at the Sky Dome in Toronto. CBS Sports coverage begins at 8:30 Eastern Time. In the National League, Ron Gant's first ever Grand Slam helped Atlanta take a 2-0 lead over Pittsburgh. The Braves led 8-0 after Gant's hit, leaving little doubt the Braves would win. Who are those guys and why are they asleep? The final was 13-5. After a travel day today, CBS Sports coverage of the National League playoffs will resume tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern in Pittsburgh. 7 minutes after the hour, here once again is Mark McEwen with the weather. Now, did you watch that game last night?
I saw the game.
Classic?
It was wonderful. I saw the game yesterday afternoon. I fell asleep with the game last night. Harold Baines is from Maryland. You got to say things like that. We love the state of Maryland.
And what team did he really play for?
Chicago, the White Sox.
All right, nice.
It's been a long time since they've been in the Fall Classic, but we won't talk about that. And the Cleveland Indians, by the way, they won the American League in 1954, but they won the World Series back in '48. That's why I mentioned the Cleveland Indian summer. What you can see, it's clear across the Northeast. Little cloud activity down through the south and sort of bringing a sort of like a swirling mass. There is stuff in these clouds, and we're going to talk about that. Out to the west, though, you're going to see some clouds up across the northwest. No stuff in these clouds, and the stuff, of course, being precipitation clear down through the southwest. Let's talk about what's going on underneath these clouds. Wet and windy conditions. You're going to see, as I said, the D words: dank, dreary, disgusting. Bring an umbrella. That's not a D word unless you call it the umbrella. You're going to see a lot of rain, an inch of rain in a lot of states today. Just a wet and windy kind of day. Going to feel like November. There's the umbrella over there to the right. You can have that one if you... No, you can't have that one. Get your own umbrella. Let's talk about what's going on around the country. Up in the Northeast today, Indian summer, as I've said before, when you've had frost on the old pumpkins, and then it gets up a little bit above normal. Bingo. There's your Indian summer. Temperatures in the 70s. You'll see this rain looping around, and this rain that you see down through the south will be happening as the day wears on, but it's going to be disgusting across the Great Lakes and some thunderstorm activity down through the south. Out to the west, you can see cool and dry. This is the storm, by the way, that brought all that snow to the Rockies yesterday, moving to the east and bringing rain. They're sort of drying out up across the Dakotas, drying out up across the Rockies. Unseasonably warm out to the west. Yesterday they hit above 90 for LA and San Francisco. They're not going to be that warm today. Real quickly, let's look at the highs around the country. What you're going to see, 60s and 70s up across the Northeast. Boston, New York, Philadelphia all have right around 70 degrees. Warm down through the south, 40s and 50s through the Great Lakes area. And out to the west, not as hot as it was yesterday, but still a warm day up and down. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Periods of rain for the entire state today. Some cool weather just to the west of us with only 40s expected. 50s across southern into eastern Iowa today. Very gusty winds starting out this morning out of the south and east, becoming northerly by late in the day.
There's your first look at the weather. More coming up. Paula?
Thanks a lot, Mark. It was President Bush's turn on the talk show circuit last night, and he predicted that there might be some fireworks at the debate on Sunday night.
I'm kind of a tranquil fella, but I've never been, you know, I'm not a great big fighter, but I'll tell you, I feel strongly about these issues, and I hope I can convey that feeling directly to the American people. And if somebody wants to get into a little hassle out there, fine, come on.
With Ross Perot's appearance the other night, we have plenty to talk about with three of our favorite talkers in Washington, Democratic strategist Bob Beckel and former Republican strategist and Perot co-manager Ed Rollins.
Morning.
Fred Barnes of the New Republic joins us from South Bend, Indiana this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Paula.
Lots of territory
Morning,
to cover this morning. Fred Barnes, I'm going to start with you first. The president continues to face stagnant polls, 10% deficit in most polls. Is he coming into Sunday night's debates dead on arrival, or will a strong performance at these debates really turn things around?
Well, he's certainly dead in the water at the moment. I don't think he's dead for the campaign, but there are things he can do in this debate. For instance, here's one he might do, and that is, remember, he did not directly raise the issue of the draft and Bill Clinton when he gave that speech in Utah several weeks ago. Now he could do it face-to-face with Bill Clinton, point at him like a prosecutor pointing at a defendant, and raise it that way. Believe me, then it would be a bigger issue than it is now.
Bob Beckel, the president did raise the issue of patriotism last night. Did he successfully do that when attacking Bill Clinton on Larry King last night?
Well, first of all, Paul, tell Harry I did not fill out my weekly reader poll yet, so that thing's not complete. But I thought that may have been the lowest point for George Bush. I say this not as a partisan, but he must have gone to the Joe McCarthy summer school for nasty politics. To stoop to that level, to question Bill Clinton's patriotism, is a guy who's obviously very desperate. That's the kind of tactic you have when you're 10 points behind and your pollster comes in and says you're not making a move at all. I think that one shot last night, I don't care what Fred says about the draft, you question a man's patriotism like that, you better be able to back it up. And this guy doesn't have the guts or the information to back it up.
Was his attack appropriate last night, Fred Barnes?
Well, I think he raised some interesting questions. Clinton seems to have selective amnesia about what he did in Moscow and about his draft record and so on. He's clearly not told the truth about his anti-war activity. Once said that he wasn't much involved in the anti-war movement, and it turns out he was very involved.
Wait a minute, Fred. Wait 1 second. Selective amnesia. Here's George Bush 3 years ago. Doesn't remember that he was deeply involved in Iran-Contra. That was 3 years ago. This guy was involved in arms for hostages, and he hasn't told the American people the truth. So don't jump on Bill Clinton 20 years ago. You guys are... not you, Fred. I actually like you. The flowers are pretty behind you. But the fact of the matter is, these guys are stupid now because they're about to lose and they know it, and it's disgusting.
Look, Iran-Contra is a legitimate issue, but so is the draft and what Bill Clinton was doing. They're both legitimate issues. Let's hear about both of them, Bob.
Here. You remember what you did 20 years ago?
Sure.
Yeah, you do? Well, good. You got a better memory than most people.
Bob,
you probably filled out your weekly reader 20 years ago.
Bob, before we move on to the question of Ross Perot and this campaign, what should Bill Clinton do as far as the Iran-Contra issue?
Listen, if George Bush raises the draft or even hints at patriotism again, if I were Bill Clinton, I'd go right at Iran-Contra and suggest to the American people that George Bush has not told the truth. And as far as Ross Perot is concerned, if I were Bill Clinton, to the extent he can avoid it, I would not deal with Ross Perot at that debate. He needs to get directly at George Bush, make the contrast. If he does that and does that well, this campaign's over. He wins.
Ross Perot surprised a lot of pundits the other night, drawing some 20 million viewers for his infomercial. We're going to listen in on a bit of that from that performance.
If the Japanese, the Germans, the Arabs, and all these folks that buy our treasury bills ever lose confidence in the United States of America or the U.S. dollar, we're in deep trouble here. Or to use Washington terminology, we're in deep voodoo, folks, right here.
Ed Rollins, Ross Perot delivering a 50 styles performance, no graphics, very simple charts, a little pointer to point at, but he drew 20 million viewers. What does that tell us?
Well, there's still a great curiosity about Ross Perot, and obviously a lot of the people who tuned in came away impressed by that performance. There is a very strong message, and he is a very good communicator, even as simplistic as the show may have been. The tougher part, obviously, is the solutions that he has to offer.
Well, he offered no solutions the other night.
Well, he didn't plan on offering solutions. He wanted to outline the problems, and then he's going to come forward. I'm not sure there's going to be a sustained audience to watch 3 or 4 or 5 of these shows, because obviously they get a little bit boring, and he really is not a serious candidate anymore. But he is a good communicator, and there is a powerful message. I think he'll do much better in the debates than people anticipate. And obviously, I agree with Bob. He probably shouldn't be in the debates because he's not a viable candidate for president anymore.
But what kind of role do you think he'll play, Bob Beckel?
I think he's going to play a spoiler role, Paula. I think that this is a guy who has nothing to lose in this debate. Let's put it this way. Clinton needs to get through the debate. George Bush needs to make a lot of headway. And Ross Perot has nothing to lose. I think the sound bites coming off of Sunday night, regrettably, because I don't think this little guy ought to be on the stage, but I think it's going to come from Ross Perot because he has nothing to lose. I thought that half an hour informational. It was sort of interesting in one way. I was waiting for him to bring out the Jinsu knives to sell those at the end. But the fact of the matter is, he did make a devastating case why this economy is terrible, and that's got to help Bill Clinton in the short run. But I don't think he's going to help Bill Clinton on Sunday night.
Ross, do you believe that, Fred Barnes? You only got 10 seconds left.
No, I don't think he made...
Bill Clinton or the president?
Well, he certainly didn't help Bush in that infomercial. Actually, I've seen more exciting Army training films than that. But he was very tough on Bush, somewhat hysterical, though. Said America had fallen off a cliff. I missed that when we fell off this cliff.
Fred Barnes, Bob Beckel, Ed Rollins, thank you for joining us all.
Thank you very much.
See you in a couple days. Harry?
Which training film is he speaking about? It's 16 after the hour next. Lock the fridge. The food police are coming after your margarine. That's coming up. And in our next half hour on CBS This Morning, Hattie Kaufman takes you shopping at a whole new kind of mall. Plus Dr. Bob Arnott on lowering the cost of treating arthritis. And Dustin Hoffman, the star of the movie Hero, picks his own real-life hero.
Ever wonder why we haven't been able to stop the sale of street drugs, despite the fact they are destroying the very fabric of this country? Well, think about this. The bankers are backing both Bush and Clinton. These bankers have loaned money to third world countries at exorbitant interest rates. In order to pay these banks back, third world countries must have a source of hard American currency. By allowing the sale of drugs to our youth, third world countries get their hands on American dollars to pay the debt they owe the bankers. My name is John Yamianis, and I'm a serious independent candidate for president. I'm no friend to corrupt bankers. If elected, I will stop the bank bailout and not be restricted by ties to the banking industry from taking strong action against the sale of street drugs in America.
On November 3rd, vote for John Yamianis, independent candidate for president. Please send your donation to John Y. for President, Box 41, Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035.
At Wiley's, we're different. I wear for every occasion and hundreds of styles to choose from for a night on the town. Out on the slopes, the career look. Whether out on the range or out on the hunt, Wiley glasses go everywhere. At Wiley's, we are different. We're locally owned. We accept most insurances and Medicare because at Wiley's, the most important person is you. Come see us.
Dexter, the name that's synonymous with comfort, style, and quality in men's shoes. The leather shoe has the area's largest selection of sizes in Dexter shoes. We're the size specialist. Even if you're hard to fit, the leather shoe has the size and color you want in all your favorite Dexter shoes. Like Dexter hand sews in both low cut and boot styles, and Dexter Comfort Classics, made with unparalleled craftsmanship. Come in and try a pair of Dexter shoes at your hard to fit headquarters. The leather shoe in Merle Hay Mall.
18 minutes after the hour, so you gave up butter because of fat and cholesterol and switched to margarine because it was better for you. Well, wrong. A new study shows margarine might not be as healthy as you thought. Marion Burroughs of the New York Times broke that story. She joins us this morning. It was right here. We put this on television yesterday. We said, see that, Marion Burroughs? And we want to, the messenger.
Yeah, kill the messenger.
That's right.
Yes, I am not the food police.
You're not?
No.
Not this morning? Okay. Well, let's go in a step-by-step manner and figure this out a little bit. First off, what was the deal with, because we all sort of started moving away from butter. Why did we move away in the first place?
Because it's so high in saturated fat, and saturated fat raises your cholesterol level.
Right, and so then we all moved to margarine because it was supposed to be better. And what was how do we know what you said in the paper yesterday? What's the basis for this?
There are a couple of studies that show that when you eat something called hydrogenated vegetable oil, it contains substance that raises your cholesterol level just the way saturated fat raises your cholesterol level.
All right, here's the butter, right?
Butter.
If we eat a serving of butter, what sin are we committing? How terrible is this stuff for us, really?
Well, I think that you should eat a little bit of butter if you want it. I think it tastes pretty good. It has 12 grams of total fat in it.
Yeah, and it definitely raises
cholesterol levels.
And it's that saturated fat.
That's the saturated.
Which is that stuff that's hard to digest or
it's not good for the arteries. It sticks.
Okay, now here we have margarine, which we all have these little things in these little plastic tubs in our refrigerators. What's the new news here? Help us understand.
Well, let me tell you the old news first, and that is that it has 12 grams of fat, just the way the butter does.
Really?
It's not saturated, but instead it's got something in it called trans fatty acids, and those are the culprits. That's what raises the cholesterol up.
Trans fatty acids.
Trans fatty acids.
Here's the question, though. If you saw these guys coming down the street at the same time, can I do this? I mean, if you were the food police, would you both? You'd have to arrest them both, right?
No, I wouldn't arrest them either.
Okay, all right. So here's
Let me tell you this: that if you're worried about this problem, this trans fatty acid business, most of them are in hard margarine.
Oh, okay.
When you get to tub margarine, there are fewer.
Why is that?
Because the margarine isn't as hydrogenated. It's softer.
It's the hydrogenation process that makes it seem, so if it really seems like butter, the stick sort of stuff, then it really is like butter.
That one, or a diet form of this, are the best in terms of the smallest amount of these trans fatty acids.
The liquid stuff.
The liquid stuff.
Have you ever tasted this?
No. And I'm not going to now either.
You sure? You want to join me here in the little... certainly looks good now, doesn't it? Does it have some of that?
I would rather have a little bit of butter than a lot of margarine, okay?
So, if you are really in a dilemma with this, well, how many grams of fat are you supposed to have in a day anyhow?
Well, it depends on how many calories, but somewhere between 50 and 70, depending on how many calories you eat a day.
All right.
Okay, so if you're eating 12 on 1 tablespoon of butter, you're already a long way toward what you're supposed to eat.
There are alternatives, and we can quickly run through some of these, right? Like this.
This is great on your breakfast bread, the jellies or the apple butter. And then lots of Italians and lots of Americans now are taking really good crusty bread at night for dinner, putting a little garlic in the olive oil and dipping the bread in the olive oil. And olive oil and canola oil, those are much better for you.
And look at this. Here's cream cheese, light cream cheese. And you would think this would be just as bad, but what is this? The fat here says?
It's about 2 grams or something like that.
5 grams in this one?
And then this one has 10 grams, which is about the same. But let me just tell you the big message.
Real quick.
Total fat, reduce it. That's the message.
All right. Thanks. Nice to see you. Appreciate it. Paula.
And get rid of those trans fatty acids in the process. 22 minutes after the hour, Bob Arnott coming up.
The following paid political announcement contains scenes which may be disturbing to children. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's just a blob of tissue. Her heart's been beating the 18th day. It's my body. Brain functioning. 10 fingers. 10 toes. It's a woman's choice.
Abortion is not a matter of choice. It's a matter of life or death.
Paid for by taxpayers for Phillips for president.
Your body is under attack 24 hours a day. The food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe, all can promote cell destroyers called free radicals. They roam your body and can cause premature cell aging. Now you can help protect your body with General Nutrition Center's Cell Protector Vitamins, scientifically designed nutrients that can help your body fight free radicals. Cell Protector Vitamins, nutritional insurance for longer cell life, exclusively at GNC.
Through 400 years of clashes and battles, conflicts and all-out war, men and women have risked their lives to save them. Perhaps with the hope that one day, you might be able to see them in more peaceful surroundings. The Royal Lipizzaner Stallions.
Saturday and Sunday, Veterans Memorial Auditorium. Good seats on sale at the box office and Ticketmaster.
Shop any of our 8 stores for the best prices of the year during our store-wide grand opening sale. Remember, we make mattresses and sell direct to the public. Furniture stores cannot compete with our prices and quality. Try this luxurious queen set for only $3.99. Come to Lebeda, your factory direct mattress source.
This TV8 News update is brought to you by University Bookstore.
And good morning, I'm Liz Murdy, and with this News Now update, take along an umbrella today. Des Moines got some showers earlier this morning, and now parts of north central Iowa we're getting some, but rain is beginning to dissipate throughout the state. Only scattered showers. Rain is in the forecast through tonight. There may be some more popping up later. Right now in Des Moines, only 53 degrees. I'll have more on the forecast in just a moment. The last time we saw a lot of rain, it flooded parts of southern Iowa. Preliminary damage estimates are in. State climatologist Harry Hilliker says early estimates show Almost $10 million in damage to farms and at least $3.7 million to roads and bridges. Hilliker says those rains were twice the amount in some places than the average 100-year soaking. Hilliker also says our cool summer might be a clue of colder temperatures to come. He says early winters in 4 previous years were all preceded by about 6 weeks of unusually cold weather. He gave the chances of a late October freeze at 65%. Out west, a preview of winter definitely. Snow there, South Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, and parts of western Nebraska all got some snow as a Canadian front brought the first taste of winter to the west. Authorities this morning are looking for the suspect in an alleged kidnapping attempt in Norwalk. The incident happened about 7 o'clock last night when a 15-year-old boy claims a man tried to kidnap him from his home. Authorities found the boy's family car on its top not too far from his home. He says he escaped from the accident unharmed while the kidnapper took off without a trace. The suspect is described as being of heavy build, a white man about 6'4", and at the time he apparently wore a plastic bag over his head. He also had a small handgun, according to the boy. If you have any information, call the Warren County Sheriff's Office. The chairman of Yonkers says he plans to increase the sales force of his newly acquired department store chain in Wisconsin. Thomas Gould says the stores will have about 1,200 more salespeople. He is also considering potential sites for a distribution center that would employ 200 to 300 people. Sites include several in Wisconsin and possibly one in Dubuque. The Yonkers chain just received a $200,000 loan from Des Moines to keep its headquarters in the city. The long-awaited widening project for 63rd Street in Des Moines is beginning to take shape. Dozens of houses are being leveled to make way for the $5 million project. Workers will widen the street to create a 4-lane divided highway between Des Moines and West Des Moines. It's been more than a year since the DOT approved the widening of 63rd, also known as Highway 28. Demolition should be finished in the next several weeks, but road work is not expected to begin until next summer. Finally, the Powerball jackpot will hit another record high. Even with a last-minute frenzy to buy tickets yesterday, no one matched all the right numbers to win the $22 million pot. Now the estimated jackpot is expected to rise to $30 million by the weekend drawing. I'll have the forecast in a moment.
When it comes to selection, the University Bookstore's large inventory answers your needs with the latest novels, computer aftermarket supplementals, reference, the newest books on business, and even calculators. Our professional staff will trace special titles, accept call-in orders, and mail out at your convenience. More than a college bookstore, we're your ultimate reading source. The University Bookstore, 30th and Forest, across from Drake.
It's going to be a cloudy day today. What we can expect for the forecast, a high around 57, a chance for rain. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 40, and tomorrow, variable cloudiness, a high of 63. Right now, 53 degrees. I'm Liz Meridian. Have a good Thursday.
For up-to-the-minute weather information, day or night, call the TV8 Weather Beacon forecast at 262-7173. Brought to you by Papa's Pizza.
Shop Carpet Gallery, the home of Padman, for quality, value, and service the way it used to be.
Their service was fantastic. They came on time. They installed it in a day. They are prompt and reliable and do excellent work. Goodness, they came before I expected them to. They were very nice to do business with.
No payment, no interest till March on thousands of carpets, starting at $9.88 per square yard, plus luxury carpets from Lee's and Alexander Smith, starting at $15.88 per square yard. Sale ends Saturday.
What's so great about this new $19,500 '93 Ford Taurus GL? You can drive it for only $75,36 with no money down. But it's not $75,36 in Des Moines, Ames, Iowa City, or even Omaha, Nebraska. Drive this new '93 Taurus GL for just $75,36 and zero down. Only at Noble Ford Mercury in Indianola, Iowa. $75,36 is the total of our 24-month maximum advantage payment plan. Get yours now, only at Noble Ford Mercury in Indianola.
In Ottumwa, tune to Channel 23 for better reception of TV8.
Sunrise over New York City. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Harry Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Paula Zahn. Feeling better now that you've just had about 3 tablespoons of olive oil that you drank out of the bottle. Not everybody in the audience got to see that, but...
I didn't really do it.
You didn't do it?
It was like kind of a cheap effect for the whole...
Trans fatty acids.
It sounds like something out of science fiction or something, doesn't it? Wacky. The pain that comes from arthritis can seem a lot worse when you look at the high price of treating it. In this half hour, Dr. Bob Arnott explains why you may be paying way too much.
Our consumer correspondent, Hattie Kaufman, joins us from Houston this morning. Good morning, Hattie.
Good morning, Paula. Where can you get a baby dress in an African print? We've been shopping, and we'll show you the latest in malls in just a bit.
All right, thanks a lot, Hattie. Also coming up in this half hour, Dustin Hoffman might surprise you when he talks about his real-life heroes. Of course, Heroes is the name of his new movie.
It does all fit together somehow, doesn't it?
Making a little thread here this morning.
Time now for this morning's news. President Bush is probing for a weakness in Bill Clinton's political armor. Appearing on the Larry King Show last night, Mr. Bush questioned Clinton's activities as a student, including his foreign travels and anti-war record.
I'm just saying level with the American people on the draft, on whether he went to Moscow, how many demonstrations he led against his own country from a foreign soil. Level. Tell us the truth, and let the voters then decide who to trust or not. How about this?
As the campaign reaches a critical juncture, Mr. Bush is pulling out the stops. Jacqueline Adams reports.
He's gonna win. We need your help.
With just 26 days until the election, Barbara Bush is on the road. And a bevy of other Bush women has joined her, all trying to convince the undecided and the leery that George Bush must have 4 more years.
I know you're going to vote for him. He is just the man to be president.
If my grandfather does lose, I really won't care, because he will always, always be my grandfather, and I will always have him to love and to protect me.
I can tell you one thing, he's never let me down, and I can assure you from experience, as your president, he won't let you down.
All right, I'm taking orders.
At every stop, in scores of speeches and local interviews, the First Lady's message is the same. George Bush has had 4 years of solid accomplishments, and the alternative is unthinkable.
Any one of our foreign friends would envy us, our economy. And George knows it's not good enough, but it's better than anyone else's. Thanks to George Bush, we have policies that have kept inflation low. We've had 5 straight quarters of growth. Our latest unemployment figures are down. We're exporting more than any other country in the world.
Would you like to show us your picture?
No, I'm not ready yet.
Mrs. Bush admits it's been rough for her family to endure the campaign year's bombardment from Pat Buchanan, Ross Perot, and all the Democrats. She even told her husband she wouldn't mind retiring.
It's okay with me if he didn't run for president, but he did. And now he's the only choice we have in America.
Despite Bill Clinton's persistent lead, aides insist that privately, Mrs. Bush has never once discussed the possibility of defeat. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, Milwaukee.
Attorney General William Barr says America is in moral decline caused by permissiveness, sexual revolution, and the drug culture. He says Woody Allen is a good example of what's wrong. Barr told a Roman Catholic group in Washington that Allen's acknowledged affair with actress Mia Farrow's young adopted daughter, quote, captures the essence of contemporary moral philosophy. And finally, if you're planning a really big Halloween celebration this year, have we got a jack-o'-lantern for you, weighing in at 827 pounds. It is the biggest pumpkin on record. It was grown by Washington State farmer Joel Holland, who won $3,000 from the Guinness Book of World Records for his efforts. 26 minutes before the hour, Mark is here with a look at our weather this morning.
Let me get my big pumpkin. First, let me get like the hoe. What's that? What do you call that? The backhoe thing to pull that sucker up? You need a parking space for your pumpkin. This weather segment is sponsored by Post Grape Nut Cereal. Breakfast with grape nuts helps keep you going strong all morning long. Just another pumpkin head. Let's talk about the weather here. And this is the latest radar from around the country. You're seeing this little comma-shaped area right here. This is rain. You see a little bit of rain down through the south, sprinkled down through the south and through the Tennessee Valley. But this is the place we really want to talk about. As we zone in a little bit closer, what you're going to see from Kansas City to Omaha. I'm standing actually in Nebraska. And from Kansas City to Omaha, you're going to see some kind of rain this morning, also into western sections of Iowa. Again, this is what the green area is where the rain is. The dark area is where the rain is not. So you also see some a little bit south of Kansas, up into Nebraska, across into western Iowa. For today's forecast, that Indian summer thing we were talking about, that is happening up across the Northeast. Places like Boston will see temperatures around 70, a little bit higher than that. New York, same deal. Same deal for Philadelphia as well. When you get down to the southeast, you'll see some rain down there a little bit later on today, some showers, and rain down through the south later on today. The bad weather, is it a good witch or is it a bad witch? The bad weather is going to be around the Great Lakes today. 1 inch of rain. You saw some of the rain already sort of filtering into western Iowa. It's moving to the east, and that's that storm that you saw yesterday in the northern Rockies. Northern Rockies drying out today. You can see cool and dry. There's a northerly breeze coming down, drying out portions of Dakotas as well. You may see a spritz or two up across Montana into Idaho. Unseasonably warm. 93 was a high yesterday in Los Angeles, 94 in San Francisco, right around 90s for both of them. That was yesterday. Today it'll be a little bit lower in the 80s, but still that's kind of warm for October. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Periods of rain for the entire state today. Some cool weather just to the west of us with only 40s expected. 50s across southern into eastern Iowa today. Very gusty winds starting out this morning out of the south and east, becoming northerly by late in the day.
We'll do the wake-up call in Maryland. That'll be coming up next, Paula.
Maryland. I'm getting sick of Maryland. How many plugs are we going to have for Maryland today?
You can't get sick of Maryland. It's a great place.
Thanks, Mark. Think all consumers are alike in the eyes of the shopkeeper? Well, our consumer correspondent Hattie Kaufman has learned retailers are getting very specific when targeting their audience. Hattie joins us this morning from the Gulfgate Mall in Houston, Texas. Good morning again.
Good morning, Paula. You know, when you think of malls, you think of the normal collection of stores and merchandise. Well, think again. Malls, like advertisers, have learned to target the changing complexion of the American shopper.
Okay, guys.
Christmas is still months away, but across the country, merchandisers are shooting for a better season than last year. For some, the answer may be in knowing exactly who their customer is.
Oh, oh, oh. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
This holiday advertising campaign features a Santa of a different shade than at Macy's. He reflects the unusual marketing strategy at Georgia's South DeKalb Mall, a strategy dubbed Afrocentrism.
Afrocentricity is basically a shopping center that's got products that are targeted toward African Americans.
Products that consumers can't always find in a typical retail store.
Well, the jewelry and the art and the T-shirts with the different designs and stuff on it.
A recent consumer survey says on an average trip to the mall, black consumers spend 5% more than whites. So when business began to lag here at the South DeKalb Mall, retailers chose to openly court the black shopper through promotions, advertising, special merchandise. Now, 3/4 of the customers here are black, and business is up 30%.
When you think about the way African Americans spend, we always spend money outside of our community, so it's to our advantage to spend it right here where we live.
Most of the mall's management is also black, and many bring a unique perspective to their merchandise.
They're coming here to look for the Afrocentric things they can relate to that takes them back to the continent. So they are happy to be here, but I consider myself to be educating a lot of African American in this country.
While DeKalb has been successful in attracting big-name retailers like JCPenney and Kinney Shoes, some say many large companies still remain reluctant to be associated with a black audience.
The owners of those products have made a decision. We can't identify our very good product with those people because that deprecates the product. That is absolute racism, and yet it exists in reality in 1992.
Advertising dollars aimed at black consumers have jumped 85% since 1984, but many believe black stereotypes are still reflected in the predominantly white business community.
I've never had a good feeling about black people anyway. The last person I saw that was doing anything black was on TV last night on the news, and he had a gun in his hand or he had handcuffs on. And so that's what I know about the black consumer.
With an annual income of $270 billion a year, black Americans have a lot of spending power. But some question the idea of Afrocentric spending.
It would be nice if, if everybody could, shop at the same mall, most alike. It just looks like an Afro mall. I don't like that about it, no.
Whether Afrocentric or some other ethnocentric, more retailers may find themselves locating in malls like South DeKalb.
It's needed because African Americans as well as Hispanics and Asians are going to be the largest group of consumers in this country in the year 2000. It makes good business sense.
There are already malls specifically for Asian shoppers, and Hispanic malls are opening in the Southwest. And big-time retailers are getting in on the action. JCPenney's plans to open 100 Afrocentric boutiques in its stores.
I'm wondering what kind of concern retailers, though, have, Hattie, in targeting one specific audience and their fear that it might drive another part of an ethnic audience away.
That's a good question, but Paula, most of these malls are located in ethnic neighborhoods anyway. In fact, before the malls came along, many of the residents of those neighborhoods had to leave their community to shop somewhere else because there weren't stores there.
Hattie Kaufman, thanks for joining us from Houston this morning. 19 minutes before the hour. Coming up next on CBS This Morning, Dr. Bob Arnott on cutting the high cost of treating arthritis.
I feel energetic and ready to face the day.
Zane Hunter discovers breakfast with grape nuts for a week.
I love grape nuts. It kept me going the whole morning.
Grape nuts, the fat-free natural energy source.
It just had a real crunchy, nutty, different kind of flavor that stayed fresh. Old cereal's out, grape nuts is in.
Breakfast with Post-Grape Nut cereal helps keep you going strong all morning long.
You just try it for a week, and this will become your new cereal.
Your oatmeal, sir.
Oh, the injustice of a low-fat breakfast. If only it could be more inviting.
Sir, from the lady.
Now it can. Introducing Philly Free. Rich, creamy, with the taste only Philly could give you. Yet it's fat-free. Now you can spread new Philly Free instead.
Biscuits made with new reduced fat Bisquick have half the fat, but it's the taste that'll bring them back. Original and now reduced fat Bisquick. Taste how good it can be.
Costly engine wear occurs when you first start your car because even the best motor oils and additives are down in the oil pan. Slick 50 protects your engine at startup. It treats the engine, not the oil. Independent lab tests showed Slick 50 reduced engine wear by 50% for 50,000 miles. Since 1978, over 15 million people worldwide have used Slick 50. Starting your engine without it is a terrible thing to do.
Cleaning toilets is a lousy job, so I invented 2000 Flushes Blue to help you. It's loaded with detergents, cleans and deodorizes automatically, up to 4 months. Try my 2000 Flushes Blue. Cleans your toilet with every flush.
"17 minutes before the hour, how would you like to cut your medical costs and not cut the quality of your care?" Hard to believe? Dr. Bob Arnott has a report this morning on a new study that shows you can save thousands of dollars without compromising treatment for rheumatoid arthritis. Important story, Bob. Good morning.
Good morning, Harry. If you look at all the different kinds of arthritis, common arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis can be the most serious. Now, with rheumatoid arthritis, you can have early, aggressive changes in your joints, destructive changes, and you can even have a decrease in your life expectancy if you don't begin what we call early remittive therapy. That is very aggressive therapy with powerful drugs. Now, researchers at Boston University looked at these different drugs. You can imagine that they can be very expensive once you look at the cost of physician visits, blood tests, and treating toxicities. Their conclusion at the end of this study was that the cheaper drug can be the better drug.
Give us a specific example from the study. Show us how this works.
All right, let's take two different drugs. We'll compare intravenous gold injections to methotrexate. Now, here are the costs. Intravenous gold costs $2,489 over 6 months, all the costs, including physician visits and laboratory tests, where methotrexate can cost only $1,484. That's a savings of $1,005 over 6 months. So that means over 10 years of an illness, it can mean $20,000. Over 20 years, it can mean $40,000, which is a significant amount of money.
That is amazing, and especially with insurance companies cracking down on everything else. Is there a difference, though, in the quality of the treatment or of the drug itself, the difference between, I can't pronounce the one, and the injectable gold?
Well, that's the real flaw in this study, is that they did not compare the quality of outcome. And it surprises me as a physician that doctors wouldn't first look at the quality of the patient outcome rather than just looking at cost. They rely on other studies, and other studies do in fact show that methotrexate, the cheaper drug, can in many cases be a better drug. But by not concentrating on the quality of outcome before the cost, it's not the kind of result that you can take to the bank to say, absolutely better patient outcome and cheaper price.
Is there any way you could generalize the results of this study to other kinds of illnesses?
This is happening across the board with all different kinds of illnesses, but I feel that there's a real danger to this kind of study. Here's the danger. There's a thing called a formulary. That means hospitals, health maintenance organizations, government agencies are going to say, here are the drugs you, doctor, are allowed to prescribe. Here are the drugs you aren't allowed to prescribe. This study can be used as ammunition to say, well, gee, we're not going to stock gold. It's much more expensive. We'll just stock methotrexate.
Right.
Now, here's what's behind the scenes. With methotrexate, you can't drink alcohol. If you have liver disease, you're not supposed to take it. If you want to have children and you're a woman, you can't take the drug. So what happens if gold's not in the formulary? They'll say, I'm sorry, young lady, you can't drink alcohol, and also you can't have children because we're going to put you on this drug. So there's a danger. If this is used by the patient, though, it can be very valuable information where the patient says, gee, I'd like to try this methotrexate to see how it is. I'm willing to live with the different restrictions there. If it's a better drug, it's cheaper. That's what I would like to stay with. So in this new era of cost cutting, it's very important how this kind of information is used. Important to look at, but it's got to end up in the patient's hands to use with his or her doctor, not in the hands of people who make up hospital formularies.
Empower the patient to have the information and force the doctor to be able to defend what his prescription is.
Right, rather than being forced into a situation where the doctor says, I'm sorry, the healthcare company says you've got to take this drug.
Bob, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
13 before the hour. Up next, Dustin Hoffman on his revealing first encounter with Gina Davis.
This morning's health segment was sponsored by Color Tile and Carpet. At Color Tile and Carpet, we cover it all for less.
What's the big rush?
Color Tile store-wide blockbuster has been extended! Pennington Gold $50 cash rebate! Garage Tile up price! DuPont Stainmaster $10.99! Color Tile store-wide blockbuster! Coast to coast! Save up to 50%!
Sale ends Columbus Day.
Replens replenishes vaginal moisture. Replens lasts for days. Replens feels so natural. Recommended by more gynecologists. Discover Replens, vaginal moisture that lasts.
Send a hug from far away. Brighten up a rainy day. Flowers say what words can't say. It's as easy as FTD.
Whatever you need to say, your FTD florist can send the right bouquet. And remember,
It's as easy as FTD.
I drink V8 because...
Hey, I think it's good for me. It makes me peppy.
You got your vitamin A, your vitamin C. I like it because it has those beta-carotenes in it.
What's that word?
Beta-carotenes.
Pardon? Beta what?
You know, beta-carotene.
Muy sabroso.
Call me crazy, but I think it's delicious.
35 calories.
Really? 35? Yes. It's a kick. I love you. V8? V8!
Keeps me thin.
It's zippy kind of thing, a zippy thing.
Introducing a new Chex that's double delicious. I love double Chex. Better than the rest. Corn, rice, sweet, crunch, double crisp, bite, munch. It's new, lightly sweetened corn plus lightly sweetened rice makes new double Chex twice as nice. I love double Chex. Better than the rest. Corn, rice, sweet, crunch, double crisp, bite, munch.
Sweepstakes or scam? We'll look at those Giant magazine giveaways tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
We're looking at 11 minutes before the hour right now. From The Graduate to Tootsie, Kramer versus Kramer, and Rain Man, Oscar winner Dustin Hoffman's been in some of America's favorite movies. Our entertainment reporter Steve Kameko talked with Hoffman about his latest film called Hero.
What would you say if I told you I ran into a burning plane and saved a bunch of people and risked my life?
You wouldn't do it. I mean, it's a character thing, Bernie.
Dustin Hoffman plays a reluctant and unlikely hero. He saves more than 50 lives, yet uses the opportunity to steal Gina Davis's purse. He wants no part of the media circus that ensues until he finds out he's entitled to a $1 million reward.
$1 million to unanimous hero!
Only problem is he's crash-landed in jail, and an imposter is claiming to be the hero.
Oh, he's a fake. You know him? Oh, he's a damn fake. He's a bum.
How would you, is it possible to categorize Bernie? Good guy, bad guy, confused guy?
Damaged goods.
Damaged goods.
Harmless. Probably, I think, never dangerous. I think he's accurate when he says at the beginning he doesn't want to go into prison. He wouldn't survive a minute. Not as shrewd as he'd like to be. Paranoid to a comic degree. He'd look at God like that.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
Hard to believe, but it's been 25 years since Hoffman made his film debut in The Graduate. A special re-release of the video comes out this month. Hoffman won the role over more conventional-looking actors such as Robert Redford, due to an unconventional bit of casting by director Mike Nichols.
What are you so scared of?
I'm not scared, Mrs. Robinson.
Do you remember being frightened?
Oh, just to the point of paralysis. In fact, in the screen test. And that's why he hired me. He said that's the character that he wanted. I was terrified making that movie. But he was too, I think. Because I think he made a mistake. Even though he had the courage to cast me. But it was a very frightening experience.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's quite all right.
And on the subject of film debuts, it was 10 years ago in Tootsie that Hoffman's hero co-star Gina Davis was first seen on screen.
Do you remember your first impressions on working with Gina Davis in Tootsie?
It was tough not to have first impressions. She was in bra and panties. So I vividly remember my first impressions.
At the time, did you think she had what it takes to go a long way? Careful.
But to answer your question, you know, here was an actress who had never done anything before. I think she was about 19 or 20 then. And she was so totally relaxed.
Hoffman and Davis again shared the spotlight last month at a Beverly Hills fundraiser for presidential hopeful Bill Clinton. Hoffman used the forum to speak about some of the people he considers heroes.
Probably everyone here tonight knows at least one person who is infected with the AIDS virus. I do. I don't know in my lifetime, and I've been around over half a century now, any other time when I have felt such courage and dignity against these overwhelming odds. I guess I find it so moving, and I think of it as heroic, I guess.
Is that why you wanted to participate in the fundraiser the other night?
Frankly, no. They just asked me. I was kind of honored that they asked me that it was their idea. Also, Jimmy Connors.
Is a hero of yours?
Very much so. I guess I identify. I mean, he just won't
give it up.
No, he won't. he hangs around as long as he can.
Early on, while making Hero, Dustin Hoffman tried to quit, discouraged because he was having a hard time with the role. It should be noted, he also tried to quit Tootsie and Rain Man. Clearly, Hoffman hangs around as long as he can, too. Reporting from Hollywood, Steve Kameko, CBS This Morning.
5 minutes before the hour. We'll be right back.
This portion of CBS This Morning was sponsored by cool, refreshing Wrigley Spearmint Gum. It's pure chewing satisfaction.
I'm a smoker, but in my office,
It doesn't work. No problem. I chew Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. That cool, clean taste fits any agenda. When I can't smoke, I enjoy pure chewing satisfaction.
After 80 years, it's still worth waiting for. Natural whole grain goodness. Roman meal. It's that good. After 80 years, we finally found something to improve. The package. Natural whole grain goodness. Roman meal. It's that good.
All right, Gladys, from the top.
Though we know you love butter, Fleischmann's found something other. It's over butter. All the smoothness of butter with a rich, creamy flavor. New over butter. It's either move over butter or nothing at all. With sweet, creamy buttermilk, zero cholesterol. Move over butter.
New Move Over Butter from the folks at Fleischmann's.
Only one adult cereal could be this much fun to eat. Basic 4, a colorful mix of lightly toasted flakes, sweet and tangy fruits, and crunchy nuts. Splash on cold milk and you get something tasty from each of the 4 food groups. Basic 4, the adult cereal. With a taste that never grew up.
Must be the new guy.
I smoke, but where I work, it's not allowed. No problem. I've got Wrigley's Spearmint Gum. That cool, clean taste always works for me. When I can't smoke, I enjoy pure chewing satisfaction.
On CBS This Morning, here's a look at your weather.
Periods of rain for the entire state today. Some cool weather just to the west of us with only 40s expected. 50s across southern into eastern Iowa today. Very gusty winds starting out this morning out of the south and east, becoming northerly by late in the day.
Be here tomorrow on CBS This Morning and learn how to save your life if there's ever a fire at your house.
And stay with us this morning for Annette Funicello and her battle against multiple sclerosis.
And coming up this morning, we're going to take a look at women and politics 1 year after the firestorm between Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas.
And you know what's really cool in our next hour?
What's that?
You know what we're going to do?
What?
We're going to go to Michigan, go to an apple orchard, talk about apples, Macintosh apples.
Too bad we can't do any taste testing right here.
Yeah. It's autumn.
Quite a pumpkin you showed us earlier this morning, too. All right here.
Stay with us.
We'll be back.
A year ago, Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas taught us a lot about our system. But what have we learned about ourselves? Eye on America tonight on the CBS Evening News.
The only thing more exciting than a home run is 5 home runs. Oakland takes Game 1. Tonight they meet Toronto in Game 2 on CBS.
When drug gangs take over a small town, it takes 2 cops to turn up the heat.
Possession of crack cocaine.
He's a witness. And fight to take back the night.
You got anything?
Carol O'Connor.
We gotta get him, yeah?
Howard Rollins is setting us up in the heat of the night. Wednesdays after baseball on CBS.
This is CBS.
Her mother came from Ireland with a 7th grade education and worked as a maid. Her father worked as a printer, and from them, Elaine Baxter learned the importance of hard work. And since then, as a wife and mother who raised a family, as a teacher who worked with children, as a legislator who created jobs, and a Secretary of State who cut red tape, Elaine Baxter has earned our pride and our respect. Elaine Baxter for Congress.
Vanderbilt 486SX, 25 megahertz computer at $1,798. Same price includes 170 megabyte hard drive and 4 meg memory. Same price includes monitor. Same price includes monitor and printer. Same price includes monitor, printer, and modem. Same price includes software. Plus accessories. Still $1,798 for complete computer package and 0% financing for 1 full year. So,
Get 0% financing for 1 year on all computers this week at Best Buy.
Here's a sure way to guarantee that your Ford or Mercury is equipped the exact way you want. Personalized ordering at Noble Ford Mercury. When you special order your new Ford or Mercury,